Hey, good morning, fuckers, and it's time for the dump truck. I mean, the Daily BM. What's going on? We're going to dump a bunch of stuff on you today. A little bit of it might be right up your alley, and some of it may not. I don't know. But, Mikey, what's going on?
What's happening, everybody? And you know what? It doesn't matter. It's our show, so we get to do whatever we want.
That's right, bitches. It's our show.
But we do appreciate you listening.
But we really do appreciate it. So if you hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom, we'd be really much obliged. But so what's going on, man?
Man, not a whole lot. You know, today's topic, I wanted to talk about something that has happened to me a couple times in my life. And it's kind of an interesting thing to notice. And it's a little bit spiritual. So, you know, bear with me if you guys out there are not spiritual or if you have different belief systems, because it's all okay. And, you know, whatever you believe in is fine. Maybe this will resonate. Maybe this won't. So have you ever been in a situation to where you're sitting and you're contemplating something in your life and, you know, you're asking for guidance? I believe in God. So, you know, I ask God for guidance. And then all of a sudden, like, small things start popping up in your life that if you're paying attention and taking notice, you see them. So, for example, recently I have really, you know, since we joined this thing called the Iron Council back in January, which is basically it's a group for men where you go through monthly topics on, you know, a wide range of what it is to like be a man and what's important. And showing up in a masculine way. And as I'm sitting in, you know, talking to these people, I realize that I have a lot on my plate compared to some people. Like, I do a lot of stuff. And I've been told that before in the past, that, like, you know, holy crap, you do so much stuff and you've done so much stuff, you know, and it's like, yeah, you know, that's just the way I go. Like, I'm always going. And recently I've started thinking maybe it's important for me to start cutting back and really honing in on the things that are really important, to spend time with those things that I find the most beneficial to get me on my path in life. So I had this conversation with the guys in my group, you know, and they gave me some good pointers. And I was like, okay, kind of open up to it. And then you and I went to Starbucks after we did a filming session with one of our clients to grab a coffee. And we're sitting there, and there's this guy sitting next to us. And I noticed on his, next to him on the little table, he's got a stack of books. And one of the books is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, I believe is the title of the book. Let me look it up real quick because I don't have it. Yeah, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. So I want to make sure I got that right. And the author is John Mark Comer. So, you know, I just asked the guy because I was also been trying to work on my, you know, social ice breaking and talking to people because I want to get more in tune with that too, because I feel like during COVID I really lost that. But back to the story, I saw the guy and he was, you know, had that books in his stack. So I just said, hey, how you doing? How do you like that book? And I, you know, repeat the title back to him. And he says, oh, it's one of my favorites. You know, I've got several copies. I just happened to pick this one up at the thrift store. You know, I've read it several times. It's really good. I have like his original edition, et cetera, et cetera. So we went off and we started talking a little bit about it real briefly. And then he left because we got called to get our coffee, and we went to get our coffee. And then you and I were just sitting there drinking coffee. And like 5 minutes later, he came over and said, hey, I want you to have this. And he handed me the book and gave me the book, which was really freaking cool in the first place. Because how often does that happen? You know, I can count on hands. World. Yeah, the number of times that people have done stuff like that. And then, you know, I'm sitting there and I started reading the book, and it's all about eliminating stuff from your life to get back to like your true self. And it's a spiritual book, so it has a lot of references to the Bible and God and, you know, the Sabbath and spending time, you know, with yourself and in the presence of God, and cutting out, you know, a lot of the stuff that you're just doing to keep yourself busy because you're rushing through everything. And I was like, man, it's so wild that like here I am doing this and it's put in my path. Like another example, I've had some not great experiences with running over the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten hurt a couple of times pretty significantly and been knocked off the exercise path, and also like, been led down depression and things of that nature. And I joined the Iron Council, and before I joined the Iron Council, like one of my goals was just to start figuring out how to get more physically fit with the ailments that were bothering me, because I was having all the shoulder, neck pain issues, joint issues. They told me at 45 I needed a full knee replacement. So I was just looking for some help, basically, and looking for a brotherhood. So I joined the Iron Council, and this one guy, like I told the story in my group, because my wife, she started an esthetician business, and she's focusing on lashes and lash extensions and brow laminations. So I've been going to all of the seminars and stuff with her, because she has a little bit of social anxiety about doing stuff like that and going places in big towns by herself. So I've been going on the weekend trips and hanging out with her. And, I attended a couple of the classes because I just wanted to learn more about it too, because she's going to be doing it. So I wanted to be a part of it and, be supportive and, bounce ideas off of her and whatnot. And, we sat through a brow lamination course where people made people's brows look really, really good. And when this guy, Jay Welsh, got on the Iron Council, when he started talking, I knew he was wearing, I noticed he was wearing like a Crazy Runners running club t-shirt with a logo, and it said coach. And then I first noticed his eyebrows, because his eyebrows were really well defined and really well, proportionate, and like he had all the qualities that like they talk about in this class that I just gotten out of. So I was like, okay, number one, this is, no homo, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I was just like, he has really nice eyebrows. But then when he started talking about his running, and he's an ultra runner and he's a coach, I was like, okay, this is like maybe a sign from God, which I believe in, or the universe, that I need to reach out to this guy and start just asking him questions. And we ended up, before I did that, we ended up being on the same call for the same battle team. Because what happens is you break off in this group into smaller groups of men called battle teams, and you have to interview for the battle team. So we were both on the same introductory call. And it was so weird, because out of the, 200 guys that were in our forge, which is a group that came in, he and I on the same night were on the same call. And we kind of started talking at that point about the call afterwards, and that led into me talking to him about the running, and we both ended up on the same battle team, and he's been my coach for the last month. And so that's another example of, me putting out in the universe, God, please show me a way to be able to like get over these physical ailments. And here he put this person in my life that's exactly what he does. Like, he teaches people how to run. So I've had many of instances like that in my life, where it's just like I've asked for things and then I've just paid attention to the details. So my question was, have you had situations like that where, you said, please show me a way, and then all of a sudden this little bitty thing opened up? And did you pay attention and notice it, or did you miss it because you were too distracted by everything else?
I would say as of recent, and I pretty much like to keep that personal versus airing it, but I haven't had that answer yet when I've asked.
Okay.
So that one is more personal to me. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm not going to elaborate on it, but still hasn't been answered. I'm still asking for guidance and seeking what is the right move.
Are you paying attention to the small stuff? Are you
I
looking
am
for
paying
something
attention, and I feel like I'm seeing some signs, but they're not 100% pointing anywhere yet, if that makes sense. Like, the sign is there. I just haven't seen the point that says do this or do that.
I gotcha.
But I mean, it's come to fruition, but it's like almost like I'm in observation mode. Let me put it that way. Like, I know it's there. What's the next step? So I mean, I've it's funny that you actually brought that up, because I actually asked the Lord that this morning, because I'm not a very, what you want to call, see, I hate using the word say I'm not a religious person, because what is a religious person? Somebody that goes to a steeple and goes to a church every day, every Sunday? No, because I've seen some people that don't live by, and I'm just using Christianity as a thing here. It could be anything. It could be a
Sure,
Muslim,
because that's your religion, so
Buddha,
you know the
whatever.
most
This is
of
just
it.
an opinion. But
Yeah, and
that
you
all
know the most about your religion because that's what you practice.
correct.
So that's
So
where you have the most knowledge. That makes
I
sense. Go.
yeah. So I mean, it's like Jesus, like had followers that sat on a mountaintop and he preached to them, the word of God, and the way things should be, and yada yada yada. So I don't feel like you need to be in a steeple giving $10 into a tithing tray. But if that works for you, great. You know what I mean? For each his own. It just doesn't work for me. I'm not one of those guys that wants to go every Sunday to a church. That's
Right.
just personal preference. But and I haven't seen a sign that says you need to go there. From the Lord, because I've asked that before. Hey, am I being stupid because I'm not going? You know what I mean? But haven't had that answer. And I guess his way is whatever works for you, Brad. That's the kind of the sign I got.
Yeah.
So right now it's my one-on-one interactions. You know what I mean? Is how I feel about it. And not in a group setting discussing it, which is weird because I'm discussing it right now with everybody on the freaking planet. But
Well, no, that's I understand exactly where you're getting from, because I mean, if you look at the way that Jesus worked, again, this is if you believe in Christianity, this is believe in God. This is the area that I can feel comfortable talking about because this is religion that I follow.
right,
So, if you look at Jesus, he constantly went out into the wilderness, the wild, by himself to be with God. He communed with God by himself, his Father.
right,
Um, you didn't hear Jesus go, okay, I'm going to the church to pray with God, with the church, with the masses. So I think it's up to what your personal needs are and how you have, because your relationship with your God is your relationship with your God,
correct,
and you shouldn't be judged by anyone else for your personal relationship. Like, you can be a great person and never step foot in church and be very religious and follow the word of God and talk about the word of God to people and do his teachings without ever stepping foot in a church. You can
right.
also be the most wicked of wicked and go to church every day of the week.
Ain't that the
You
truth?
could be a man of God, and also be a man of the devil. Like you can be a man of the cloth and also be a man of the devil, like with your actions. Like you see men in religious stations constantly doing evil acts,
Right,
not in the name of God, but in the name of themselves. So I don't think that location matters as much as relationship in that situation. So
right,
at the end of the day, I don't think that God would be like, you know what, you would live by my word. You did what I asked. You prayed to me. You expressed your faith to other people that ask and were open to receiving it, and you did all this charitable work. But hey, you know what? You only attended 50 times to church over an 80-year life, and that's just not enough. You just didn't hit the quota. You didn't hit the magic number to get in. So sorry, sorry for your loss.
You didn't make the
Like,
quota, so if
shit.
you want to jet that elevator to the right, please.
If you had just shown up one more day, like
Yeah,
one more day, you just didn't get the attendance. You did everything was great. You just didn't have attendance.
so you kind of like this. It's like you see
Yeah.
the eye roll with the guy behind the podium going, "Well, just head over to that escalator over
Yeah.
there. Yeah, you might want to head over to that escalator."
So
But yeah, I mean,
like I've seen people. I've been with people and they've been like, man, I just wish God would like give me money. Like, I just need money. You know what I mean? Like, I want money. Like,
I think we've all said
I
that
need,
before.
praying to God, like, please, like, help me get out of this financial situation and stuff like that. But then they're walking down the road and they see a penny on the ground and they walk right past it.
Right. It's
I've
too
been in
little for
person.
them.
I've seen that.
Yeah, it's too
But
small for them.
But that could be God's way of saying, okay, let me test him or her and see if they really want to receive my gifts or if they don't.
Right.
So are they really going to stop and pick up the penny? Or are they going to keep moving on? Because the weird thing happens is like, there's so many times in life where you've seen people stop to do something, like pick up a penny, and then because they paused for that briefest of moments, the next thing they know, they bump into line at somebody at Starbucks, and it changes their whole world
Right.
because of that 5, 6 second, 10 second delay. That caused one person to get in line in front of them. And now caused them to have a chance meeting. And I do believe that life works like that. Like, I do believe that sometimes you have to be in the right place at the right time. Because there's been weird situations where it's been the other way, where, I one time had a gut feeling I should have turned right at a stoplight and gone the back way to the office, or not to the ledger. But instead, I was like, no, I'm just going to keep going straight. And I got in a car crash.
Mm.
So do I think to myself, do I go, okay, was that gut feeling to turn right like a premonition or something, like God reaching out, just nudging me a little bit? I was watching this episode last night of The Unexplained by William Shatner. And there was a gentleman, he was one of the only 4 survivors that was above the 80th floor in South Tower of the World Trade Center. And he said he was walking down and he always takes stairwell B down. Always. And he got to the corridor and something told him, you need to take stairwell A. Out of the blue.
Right.
Like just pulling him in that direction. So he listened to his gut and he took stairwell A. It was the only stairwell that led all the way down to the bottom, and he escaped. The other 2 stairwells were completely destroyed, and he would have died if he had gone through those doors. After making descent, like two or 3 stories down, he would have died from the smoke inhalation. Like, he would not have been able to get back up and out, and it would have been completely blocked. Like, there's no way he would have been able to survive. So
Right.
something
Divine
guided
intervention.
him to go in a way he's not used to going, and he had to listen to his gut and say, okay, I'm going to do it. And it's just you hear these stories all the time, and you're just like, man, that's just wild, just mind blowing. So that was my thing. If you've ever had an experience like that, because I've had several in my life, several.
So as of
and
recent,
it's scary.
What's the recent things that you were talking about? Because you were saying that, you've had some recent things.
Well, the most recent thing was the running, like asking God, please help me be physically fit and help me get over this gigantic fear of running and of being, not in pain and an injury. And then, Jay shows up, the running coach that has a virtual running, wants to set up a virtual running program and is open to the idea of training a 47-year-old man that has no running ability, how to run a 5K, where most trainers around here, like running coaches, don't want to work with somebody like me because they have so much other raw talent that can help their name. Most people looked at me at, 250 pounds at the time, 250 pounds, 47 with bad knees, bad feet. Why would somebody want to take on that project?
Because it's a challenge.
As a coach.
It's a challenge. I can tell you as a coach.
But when you have so many other athletes out there that are younger that could carry your legacy further as a coach. You know what I mean?
The problem with some coaches today, and you could probably ask Jay this, the problem with some coaches today is that you don't get a legacy by taking the easy path. And what I mean by that is legacies are built when you take something that was nothing to something, in my opinion. This is strictly my opinion as a coach, being a coach myself. So it's easy to take the athlete that's superior and great and, and all this stuff. But there's something about taking the guy that might be a blue collar chip player and making them better. Because there's a reward to that. And if that's part of your legacy, then that's fine. But I mean, if you want to go out and get the best guy to train, the guy's already training.
So, yeah, but here's so let me ask you about that though.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, you think of movies like Good News or the Bad News Bears, and you think of Underdogs and all of that kind of stuff, where you have the guy that goes out and gets the team of misfits, people that can't do it, and coaches them up, and then they do it. You know what I mean? And it's a big win, and you're like, wow, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, if you want to be successful and you want to make a name for yourself, you have to go recruit the best. to have the best around you.
Well, of course. I mean, you're talking
So
about team sports, right? You're not talking about
I'm
individual
talking about
coaching.
team or individual, because like individual coaching, like if you are an Olympic coach, like if you want to say you're like an Olympic level coach and you want to coach Olympic level runners, like not want to, but that's what your profession is. And you have somebody like me show up, you're like, I don't have the time for you because there's kids out here that I can focus, that can run in the next Olympics, you know? So what ends up happening is to get those people that are extremely, you can usually get the coaches that are new to the industry that have the time to take on the challenge. But if you're looking for like elite level athletes that have trained at that level, it's much, much harder to find those type of people. Does that make sense? Like, you
I mean,
know what I mean?
yes and no. I mean, first of all, you'd be a paying customer, I would assume, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're still paying for a service. So he's not going to turn down money. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Now, he will turn you down if your effort and your commitment level sucks, assholes. I can promise you that.
See, I got turned down by a lot of people.
Okay, well,
because they were just because
what
they
were
have
they saying?
Enough,
What was the reason for their rejection?
You're 47 with a bad knee and you're way overweight, and I've got a lot of other students that are willing to pay. Right. So they're like, here, why don't you reach out to this guy, or why don't you join this club? But then you, at those situations, you know, I wouldn't be getting like the personal attention that I needed. It would be one size fits all, or I'd have a coach that's new to the coaching realm and not have the knowledge, like, oh, what you're experiencing right now is, you know, this is what you need to do to fix it. Does that make sense? Like they would be like, oh yeah, just run through it. Or because I've had coaches like that. Like I've had personal trainers like that.
I'll tell you though.
Yeah.
I have more respect for Jay right now.
Yeah.
Because he's a coach that can train elite people in running and things of that nature.
He does train elite people.
Now, here, hold on. So the reality is fuck them other guys. I mean, that's them. If they want to do that, that's fine. But the reality is that he saw a challenge on making you better. So to me, that says more about his legacy for me as an individual. It's opinion, right? All right.
Right.
That says more about him as a coach. Because to me, it's almost like as a coach. Now, if you're training if you're an Olympic trainer or you got something like that, totally different ballgame. But we're talking about personal training as a whole, period. Right? Whether you have 5-star athletes or whether you have this, I respect the guys that will say, you know what, that's a challenge. And if this guy's committed and he's going to freaking better himself and he's 100% on board after I've had a conversation with you, knowing that you're going to train, knowing you're going to go through the regimen, knowing it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could still, let's just face it, you could still flop right now. Because it still depends on you.
It's never a guarantee.
It's never a guarantee. So he has no guarantees, no matter if he trains. Because I'm going to be honest with you, from guy that has trained some very talented athletes over my time, even if they were younger, teenagers and things, had a lot of talent. Some of them were the laziest fucks ever, and talent will only get you so far. Because sooner or later, your conditioning, your drive, your ambition, all that shit will take over. And if you have shitty drive, I don't give a damn how good you are. It ain't going to go nowhere. Over time, it'll get exposed just like anything else. So for him to say,
we could tie this. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say,
we could tie this into the next one.
I was just going to say, for him to basically take you on, knowing that he could still say, he can pick and choose who he wants, and to take that challenge has my uttermost respect, just because of the fact that he's taken the challenge, versus taking the guy that's already he's physically fit. I'm just going to tweak him and make him better for this event or whatever he's training for. You are a major task. And I don't mean that all due respect, because
I am 100%. So I am. That's the thing. It's not, here's what I was going to get to, and we could talk about this part in the next subject. It's like your appearance. You walk up to somebody that's like an elite athlete, which, people that are like running coaches and stuff like that are pretty elite, because most of them, they can run a marathon or an ultra. Most of them are very, very physically fit, very low body percent for fatted or body percentage fat.
I got you.
So you walk up and you are, and like me, overweight by at least 100 pounds at the time, with knee problems. I'm 47. So obviously from a first appearance, it looks like I haven't had my shit together for 47 years because of where I'm at. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I want to be able to run, 5Ks. Here's my money. Train me. There's a lot of risk involved with that, because it's a lot different than having like a young kid that comes up and, and they're like raw, like just raw, like have no talent. not tons of work ethic, but they are like clay that you can mold. Like I'm that old. I was listening the other day to a podcast, and did you know that the statue of David, um, that was one of the best known statues in the world. Did you know 2 other sculptors refused that piece of marble because they said it was inferior before it was sculpted into David? 2 other artists that are unknown, like really like not as well known as Michael. It was Michelangelo, right? That sculpted David. Is that?
I can't quote you on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue while you're looking that up.
Yeah, Michelangelo sculpted David. So there was 2 other artists that are not well known that refused that piece of marble because they said it was flawed. And now it's a statue that has, influenced millions of people for centuries.
Correct.
And it was not accepted by 2 other artists because it was flawed. So that's basically like me, like, like I was that piece of marble. Like they were like, okay, is this risk worth the challenge? Because let me sit and I can see it from their point of view, because there's nothing worse than being a coach and putting in hours of your time and giving it to somebody and they don't put the work in and they don't put the work ethic. So in their mind, it's like, I've got limited time and resources. Do I focus it on the 17-year-old up and comer that could really propel me in the future in my career? Or do I focus on the 47-year-old fat ass that just says he wants to run? So I can see it, you know what I mean? And I can see and they're like, oh, well, Joe joined the running club. But the thing is the running club didn't do it for me because I wasn't learning how to fix my problems. I wasn't learning how to fix my feet because nobody was really I wasn't asking the right questions because I didn't know the right questions to ask. But I didn't have the personal coaching.
Did he sit with you for a period of time, talk to you, have conversation? I mean, it obviously didn't happen overnight. Like you didn't just call him or email him and go, hey, can you be my coach? You felt him out, saw what his personality was like. He did the same with you, correct? Over time. I mean, it wasn't right away.
Pretty much, yeah. So pretty much the first thing he had me do, he's like, okay, I want you to shoot videos because we're remote. He said, if we were together, I would come out there and I'd have you run around the track and I would watch you run.
Okay.
To pick out all the things were wrong with my running form.
Okay. So
the very first thing he did was, he had me send him videos of my running form. So that way he could analyze my gait, all the different things, my foot striking and all that stuff. Then he had me go to Fleet Feet and get feet scans so he could see what my arches were and my pronation and all that other stuff.
And this was before he took you on as a client, correct?
He had already taken me on as a client but he said he did that mostly because we were in the Iron Council together.
Correct.
Like he'd already started to gather information. Like we'd had talks and stuff like that. And he already said, hey, I can help you. I can work with you. But I didn't actually pay him, until he started putting in a lot of work. And the way that came about is I just realized how much effort he was putting in on his part.
Mm-hmm.
And my internal fear of failure, I didn't want him to walk away with nothing. Does that make sense?
No,
because I honestly didn't think I could do it. My body was, my mind was like, you will never run again. Like this is just not for you. Like, you can dream and hope and pray and do all that stuff, but my mind was physically telling you hey, physically you can't do this. Your job is to eat Twinkies, not run marathons.
Twinkies. My job is to eat Twinkies.
Yeah, and basically, he did that, and I wanted to make sure he got paid for it. Got paid for his time and his effort that he was putting in. Because at first it was not that structured that way.
Let's back up for a second. So you said you had other. Let's get back on subject at hand because we kind of steered. Yeah. We kind of right turned a little bit. So you were talking about these epiphany type moments, I guess, in a way. So what was some other stuff that you said that you
the book with the hurrying, that's the most recent one.
Well, you're talking about taking on too much and things of that nature. So elaborate on that.
Yep. Well, because I always had a mindset of go, 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 fill every free moment with something to do and live life to the fullest, die on E, keep stacking and keep adding. And the more you have, the better life will be. And I'm starting to reevaluate if that's smart or not. Do I need to do less to be happier. So it's just kind of like a thought process. And then, like, God put that book in my way. But it could also be that situation, like for the people that are out there that don't believe in God and believe in atheism, it could also be like, I want to buy a yellow Jeep. And then everywhere you look, there's yellow Jeeps, because now your mind's attuned to it. You've attuned your mind to look for that. So now your subconscious is actively pointing out, hey, there it is. There it is there. There it is over there. So it could be that way too. Like if you're not a spiritual person, it could just simply be that, you've put it in your subconscious that you want this, and it starts pointing it out to you as you're walking through. So like that's the situation, like slowing things down, like should I do that? So I'm kind of opening my heart up to that, and especially that. In the past, with jobs, I don't know if you've had this, but I have had this where if I'm making the wrong life choices, my life gets exponentially more difficult. But the minute I course correct and I start moving in another direction, like kind of the direction it's pushing me in, all of a sudden life gets easier.
Right.
Which is the weirdest feeling in the world. It feels like you're pushing against something and it's trying to push you back. Like weird things happening, like, cars getting flat tires for no reasons. You know what I mean? Like running over nails every day because, you're going to a job that you absolutely hate. And it's like telling you like, hey, stop going, figure something else out. I don't know if you've had experiences like that either in life, because I've had many experiences where I'm going down one path and it's extremely difficult and hard. And then I switch to align more with the path that I want to be going on or should be going on. And then all of a sudden life starts getting easier.
Right.
I'm not saying the challenges aren't hard. I'm just saying that the process, I don't have all the little pitfalls. So have you had stuff like that in your life, or you're experienced that you can think of?
This is probably going to sound a little fucked up. I've always just taken life with rolling with the punches. And I guess I could say I paid attention to the signs in the past. Like for instance, in a career, I had a sign, it was time to go and make a change and make a move. Right. So I pay attention more to that and like hobbies or anything that I'm doing. When is it time to throw in the towel if it's not doing this? And then I always ask, hey God, you should give me a sign. Show me where you want me to be. I've been recently saying that a lot. I've been asking a lot of him without giving back. So I got to start making sure I'm giving back too, as well, whether it's to other people or to him. You know what I mean? I haven't been giving back to myself. I can tell you that. Which I
why
finally,
do you think
that is? See, here's the catch-22. I get so caught up trying to help others and trying to be good to them that I forget to be good to myself.
Right.
And that's in every aspect. It doesn't matter if it's friendships, marriages, anything that I do. I always like to say, nobody will outwork me. Like if you give me tasks, if you give me this, or if I figure something out and I do it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I won't get out hustled. I won't get outworked. I can promise you that. I'm a stubborn asshole too, and I'm trying not to be. And what I'm using fitness as I've had this setback, and I'm stubborn as shit because I feel like I'm not doing anything, even though I know I am. And my weight's still coming off. It's just not coming off at the rate I want it to because I don't feel like I'm getting enough energy out there. Because it's energy out, you know what I mean? Energy, what's your, energy in, energy out, calories in, calories out, however the fuck you want to say it. At the end of the day, that's what it is. If your energy levels are high and you're eating right and you're making right decisions, you know what I mean, with your exercise regimen, then you're going to get something out of it. If you don't, you're going to get a fucking double Big Mac that they now have, you know what I mean? And you're saying, oh, I ran 3 miles, but I'm eating a double Big Mac. Well, then, if that works for you, great. You know what I mean? I'm not telling you how to live your life. It just doesn't work for me anymore. Because right. I usually keep that double Big Mac for about a good month, and that's just the facts. But I've realized that lately I have been super consumed with people around me versus being myself, finding my true self, being my true self, and just asking the Lord for direction. Am I, every human being on this planet, if you want to say it, is a sinner, regardless of what religion you're in. We're all born into sin, and we all are sin.
Right.
The key is getting, trying your best. I don't even want to say that, because that's kind of a cop out too. It's not trying your best. You either do your best, that you can possibly do for you, and continue to grow and get better, whether it's spiritually or whatever it is you're doing.
I have a problem with that expression, like doing your best.
I know it's a hard one, isn't it?
And here's the reason why. Like, you hear it a lot, and it's kind of it's kind of almost gotten to the point where it's clichéic.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not always going to do your best,
right?
It's more about being consistent and showing up. Okay, like just show up. Who cares about what the quality output is? Yes, should you do the best of your ability? Of course,
Correct.
But sometimes you're just not going to have it. But it's better to show up and do it a little bit than it is to not show up at all.
Right.
And that's with anything in life. Like, just, show up, and just the act of showing up will get you started down the path.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times have you had a workout where you've just dreaded going to work out, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And
this
you
morning,
get in there and you get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel good about it afterwards. And during it, you put out, to the best of your ability. And again, there's that word best, but it's about showing up. It's just show up and be consistent.
I agree.
That's more important than just saying, I'm doing my best, because that puts a lot of pressure on you. Sometimes you're going to have a shitty moment in life. Like, you just got to get through it and to keep moving forward. Like, don't focus on best. Just try to show up.
Show up and can be consistent.
Be consistent.
I like that. That's a good.
And be and be with integrity. Like, if you're going to do it, put the effort in to do it right. Don't half-ass it just for the attempt of half-assing it. But if that's all you can muster is minimal effort, then at least you did something.
Right.
At least you showed up. And then when you're done, do your after-action report on yourself and figure out, okay, why was I like this? Why did I not show up? Was it because I was lack of sleep? Was it because of lack of knowledge on the topic? Like, what caused me to not be able to show up? And then, take a hard look at that and then actually get that straightened out. So,
I think it's a great thing we can segue into another show,
Yeah.
or, just if we want to continue on with this topic. But I think you covered it, man. I think that's a good closing statement even, actually.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to really add to that. I think it was well said.
Awesome.
You got anything else you want to add to that, or you feel like let's just leave it on that note?
I think we should leave it on that note for right now, and then we can definitely readdress it on another podcast. And there's a couple other topics I'd like to talk to, like showing up in the part. Present how you present yourself on the outside reflects who you are on the inside.
Correct.
So there's things we can talk about, but I think this is a great place to segue off and let people go about their day.
Yeah, we already took you 8 minutes past your treadmill time. So congratulations. Congratulations on the other 50, 60 calories you just did. Way to go. You're awesome. Don't forget, you're awesome. Anywho, yeah. Mikey, you got anything before we get out of here?
Hey, everybody, have a great day. And just remember, the only person that you're in competition with is yourself. So just try to be better than the day you were before. Just a little bit better each day.
Stop being such a pussy. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I had to take the other side of that.
Pussies are actually pretty tough, dude. They take a pounding.
They take a beating, dude, and they keep coming back for more. That's why
balls are actually
one of them all.
Balls are actually really freaking weak, man, because they they get flicked and you're like down on your knees crying in pain, like. So I don't know, man. Maybe we got it wrong.
I've never understood that. They're like, man, you're such a pussy. I'm like, so you're saying I'm tough and I can take a beating? Because I'm like, because if you'd be better off just calling me a ball sack because I'm weak as shit and frail.
Yeah, don't be a ball sack.
Yeah, no kidding.
You might have to change that expression. I think I like that better.
We'll just be walking around going, stop being a ball sack. You're such a ball sack. Anyway.
Such a scrotum. What does it say?
You're such a scrotum. I like that one better. You're such a scrotum. We're going to start using that now. We just created a new trend. You're such a scrotum.
Yeah.
Anyway,
scrotum.
Yeah, stop being such a scrotum. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And now we'll catch you on the flip side.
Have a good one.
Deuces.